Welcome to the Science of Hockey, the podcast where we break down the science behind ice hockey. I'm the analyst, your host, and every week we explore the data, research, and evidence that shape how we play, train, and understand the game of hockey. From biomechanics to performance psychology, we take you beyond the rink and into the research lab, giving you insights that go beyond hearsay and into what really makes the difference on the ice. Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or just someone passionate about the sport, we're here to bring you scientifically backed information in a language that's friendly and easy to understand. So grab your skates and let's dive into the science of hockey. Hello, hockey fans. This is the Science of Hockey, and I'm the analyst. In this episode, we're breaking down the challenges of multitasking in elite hockey. Discover how players juggle speed and focus, how their performance compares to athletes in other sports, and what it means for training and talent development.
Okay, so have you ever wondered, if you could train your brain to react, as fast and flawlessly as, an elite athlete?
Yeah.
What if I told you that we might be closer to that than you think?
Wow.
Today's deep dive is all about, a fascinating new study
Okay.
that's looking at how well different athletes can, handle multitasking. And the findings are, seriously thought-provoking.
Right.
I mean, it's really pretty intriguing.
Yeah, they designed this very unique test to see if, there's a connection between
Okay.
how well someone handles everyday multitasking and how they perform under pressure in sports.
Yeah, and get this, they specifically looked at elite hockey players, and they compared them to athletes in other sports.
Interesting.
So the study is officially titled,
Okay.
and get ready for this, Dual Task Costs in Speed Tasks, a comparison between elite ice hockey, open skill, and closed skill sports athletes.
Yeah, quite a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, right?
But don't let the title, scare you away.
Right.
The research itself is actually really cool.
Okay.
Essentially, they wanted to see if the type of sport that you specialize in, particularly whether it's an open skill sport or a closed skill sport,
Yeah.
influences your ability to multitask.
Right, because there's a big difference between, say, a gymnast performing a routine and a hockey player trying to score a goal in the middle of a chaotic game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for those who are unfamiliar,
Yeah.
open skill sports like hockey or basketball
Right.
are fast-paced and unpredictable.
Mhm.
You're constantly reacting to what your opponents are doing.
Yeah.
Closed skill sports like gymnastics or swimming are more controlled.
Okay.
The environment is more predictable.
So how did they actually measure multitasking ability in the lab?
Well,
Did they have these athletes trying to answer emails while juggling or something?
not quite, but they did design a pretty clever two-part test.
Okay.
The first part was physical.
Okay.
Athletes had to tap their feet as rapidly as possible on this special mat
What?
that measured their speed and accuracy. The second part was cognitive.
Yeah.
They had to read numbers aloud from a screen, but the numbers were displayed in a honeycomb pattern,
Wow.
with some in blue and some in red, which added another layer of complexity.
Okay, so that already sounds like a mental workout,
Yeah,
but then they took it up a notch, right?
you guessed it.
Okay.
The real test was doing both the physical tapping and the number reading at the same time.
Wow.
They wanted to see how performance on each task was affected when the athletes had to do them simultaneously.
I bet that was harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
So did anyone actually manage to pull it off without their performance, tanking?
Well, as you might expect,
Yeah.
everyone's performance dipped when they had to multitask.
Right.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The degree to which it dipped varied depending on the type of athlete.
Wait, so you're telling me that some athletes were better at multitasking than others?
Yeah.
I would have thought at that elite level that everyone would be pretty good at it.
Right. It seems logical.
Yeah.
But the study actually found that those gymnasts and swimmers,
Mhm.
the closed skill athletes,
Yeah.
struggled more with multitasking than the hockey players and other athletes from open skill sports.
That is so surprising.
Yeah.
I would have figured that years of intense training,
Right.
no matter the sport,
Uh-huh.
would make them all multitasking masters.
Yeah.
Was it just that the hockey players in the study had more experience?
That's what the researchers initially thought.
Okay.
But the study found that age and years of experience within a sport didn't actually make a significant difference.
Oh, wow.
The fact that open skill athletes outperformed closed skill athletes, regardless of experience,
Okay.
suggests that something else might be at play.
Okay, now I'm really curious.
Yeah.
If it's not just about years of practice,
Right.
What is it about open skill sports that might give these athletes an edge in multitasking situations?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And it really gets to the heart of what this research is all about.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got these elite athletes all at the top of their game.
Right.
But the hockey players are outperforming everyone else when it comes to multitasking.
Yeah.
What is going on in their brains that makes them so good at juggling multiple tasks?
Well, the researchers really dug into that question.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about those different theories of multitasking?
Yeah.
Like the single channel where our brains have a bottleneck,
Right.
and the limited resource model where attention is like a pie that we have to slice up?
Yeah, those are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Did this study actually test those theories out?
They did. They had the hockey players complete a whole battery of cognitive tests. Things like measuring processing speed,
Okay.
attention span,
Yeah.
working memory, even something called motor inhibition.
Motor inhibition. That sounds intense.
It's basically the ability to stop yourself from making an unwanted movement,
Okay.
like resisting the urge to scratch an itch while focusing on a task.
Right.
Think about how important that would be in a fast-paced hockey game.
Oh, totally. You don't want to accidentally trip over your own feet while trying to make a pass.
Right.
So they were trying to see if the athletes who did well on those brain teasers
Yeah.
were also the ones who aced the multitasking test.
Right, exactly. They wanted to see if raw cognitive power was the key to multitasking success. But here's the twist.
Fine.
They found absolutely no significant relationship between performance on those cognitive tests
Oh.
and how well someone multitasked.
Wait, seriously. So you're telling me that being a whiz at brain games
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a multitasking master?
Yeah, that's right.
That seems so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
I always thought people who were good at puzzles were also good at juggling a million things at once.
It's a common assumption.
Yeah.
But this study really challenges that idea.
Okay.
It suggests there's something more to multitasking than just those basic cognitive skills. Something else is going on that helps those hockey players excel.
All right, now I'm even more on the edge of my seat.
Okay.
Still the beans. What could this mysterious something else be?
Well, one theory that's gaining traction is the idea of automatization.
Automatization.
Yeah.
Is that it, like when you've practiced something so much it becomes second nature?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to think about how to tie my shoes anymore.
Right.
Just do it.
That's a perfect example.
Oh.
And researchers think that this might be like a key factor in the hockey players' superior multitasking abilities.
Interesting.
Think about it. They're constantly having to react to unpredictable situations in their sport.
Right.
Over time, certain skills become so ingrained
Yeah.
that they require very little conscious effort.
So all those hours on the ice have essentially trained their brains to handle certain tasks automatically, freeing up mental space to focus on other things.
Yeah.
Like maybe those rapid foot movements in the tapping test were already so automatic for them that they could easily add in the number reading.
Precisely. And remember how the closed skill athletes, like the gymnasts, had more trouble with the dual task test? Well, their sports tend to be more repetitive,
Right.
more predictable. They might not need to develop the same level of automatization
Right.
when it comes to reacting to unexpected demands.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But hold on. The researchers also said that general cognitive skills,
Yes.
like memory and attention, are still important in sports.
Absolutely. This study isn't saying that those basic cognitive skills are irrelevant. They're still foundational.
Right.
But they may not be the primary factor driving the superior dual task performance we're seeing in open skill athletes.
Right.
In the heat of a game, things like quick decision making,
Yeah.
risk assessment, and the ability to adapt to constantly changing circumstances become even more crucial.
Right.
Those are complex cognitive skills that build upon that foundation of basic attention and memory.
So maybe we need to expand our definition of what it means to be cognitively skilled.
Yeah.
It's not just about how fast you can process information,
Right.
but how well you can apply that information in a high-pressure dynamic situation.
Exactly.
Like, it's one thing to solve the Sudoku puzzle in a quiet room. It's another thing entirely to do it while someone's trying to steal the puzzle pieces from you.
That's a brilliant analogy.
Thanks.
And it highlights the importance of training not just our bodies,
Right.
but also our brains in ways that are specific to the demands we face in our daily lives, whether it's sports, work, or even just navigating a busy city.
Yeah.
Our brains are capable of incredible adaptation.
You've got me thinking now. If those hockey players have developed this superpower of automatization through their sport,
Right.
is it something the rest of us can cultivate too? Can we actually train our brains to become better multitaskers? So we established that these hockey players might have an edge when it comes to multitasking,
Right.
thanks to the demands of their sport. But let's get practical. Is this something that like the rest of us can train for? Can we intentionally like develop that same kind of mental agility?
I absolutely believe that we can.
Really?
And that's one of the most exciting implications of this research.
Okay.
It opens up this whole new world of possibilities
Wow.
for how we approach training, not just for athletes, but for anyone who wants to like enhance their cognitive performance.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Give me the training plan.
Okay.
How do we go from fumbling with our to-do lists to multitasking like an NHL pro?
Well, for athletes, it really points to the value of incorporating specific dual task training into their regimens instead of just practicing isolated skills like shooting hoops or hitting a tennis serve. They can create drills that challenge them to do two things at once.
So like a basketball player dribbling down the court while also having to call out plays to their teammates.
Exactly. Or a tennis player practicing their serve while also tracking their opponent's movements on the other side of the net.
Right. And it's not just about making things harder for the sake of it.
Right.
It's about strategically designing those drills that mimic the cognitive demands of the actual sport.
Exactly. You're essentially weightlifting for your brain.
Oh, I like that.
Strengthening those neural pathways that help you handle pressure and make split-second decisions in the heat of a game.
I love that analogy. Weightlifting for the brain.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
Right.
And you know what's really exciting?
What's that?
Thinking about how this could revolutionize talent scouting.
Yeah.
Imagine if coaches could use these kinds of dual task tests to identify young athletes who have a natural aptitude for multitasking.
Right.
Even if their basic cognitive scores aren't necessarily off the charts.
It's like getting a glimpse into their potential before it's even fully developed. You could potentially identify future stars based not just on physical skills, but on their cognitive agility as well.
Okay, so we've covered the athletes.
Right.
But what about the rest of us?
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, in today's world, we're all juggling a million things at once. Work, family, friends, side hustles, trying to remember to feed the dog.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And while we may not be training for the Olympics,
Right.
I think there's a pretty compelling case to be made
I agree.
for incorporating some of these dual task training principles into our everyday lives.
Yeah.
So give me some ideas.
Okay.
What kind of brain weightlifting can I do while I'm, trying to make dinner and fold laundry and catch up on work emails?
Well, it all starts with being intentional.
Okay.
First, identify the areas in your life where multitasking causes you the most stress or where you feel like you could be more efficient. Then think about how you can create like low-stakes practice scenarios.
So if I'm notorious for forgetting appointments while I'm like deep in a work project,
Right.
maybe I need to specifically practice managing my calendar and my to-do list, like at the same time.
Exactly. Or if you always burn dinner while trying to help your kids with their homework, maybe you need to work on streamlining your cooking process so you can give them your full attention.
Those are great examples.
Yeah.
By consciously practicing those specific dual task situations, you're essentially training your brain to handle those demands more effectively.
Yeah, it's like building muscle memory, but for your cognitive processes. And the more you practice, the more automatic those responses become, freeing up mental bandwidth for other things.
It's funny. We often talk about the importance of mindfulness and single tasking.
Right.
But this research suggests that there's also value in strategically training our brains to become more adept at multitasking.
Yeah.
Especially in a world that demands so much of our attention.
I completely agree. It's not about glorifying busyness or encouraging people to spread themselves thin.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that multitasking is often unavoidable.
Right.
And rather than just accepting that our performance will suffer, we can actually train our brains to handle those demands more effectively.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective.
Me too.
On what it means to train for peak performance, both on and off the field.
It's amazing what we can learn when we take a deeper look at the science behind everyday phenomena.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
We've learned that even elite athletes experience dips in performance when multitasking.
Right.
That the type of sport you specialize in can actually make a difference. And that there might be more to this skill than just raw cognitive horsepower.
Yeah.
But perhaps the most important takeaway is that with targeted practice,
Right.
we can all train our brains to become more efficient multitaskers,
Yeah.
regardless of our age or experience.
Well said.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful note to end on.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that our brains are incredibly adaptable, and there's always room for growth.
So to our listeners,
Okay.
we leave you with this question to ponder.
All right.
What specific dual task scenarios could you practice in your own life to enhance your focus and your efficiency, and maybe even unlock a hidden talent or two?
That's a good question.
So keep those brains engaged.
Right.
Keep exploring.
Yes.
Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Science of Hockey. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share it with your friends, teammates, or anyone who loves hockey as much as you do. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment to let us know what you liked, what you'd like to hear next, or any questions you have. Your feedback helps us make the show even better. Until next time, keep your skates sharp, your mind open, and keep chasing the science behind the game.